Alright, we are coming up on 8 o'clock. Got everything set up and ready to go, so let's go ahead and get back to it. Welcome back, everyone. This is our 8th and final day of reading from the Odyssey. Last time we finally got the catharsis and the resolution of Odysseus finally revealing himself at home, and the dramatic and final end to the suitors that were hounding after his wife. Then Penelope showed her own little spunk and put him on the hot seat for a little bit and made him definitely prove himself there. So it was good times all around. So we have a shorter session tonight. We have only one chapter to get through. Then we'll sit and talk for a little bit. But I expect we'll be wrapping up quite a bit earlier than we normally would tonight. And we'll put it into focus that it's time to come up with another book. There's been a few suggestions fired around, and we've got a backlog of some more Lovecraft short stories and even some of the longer ones as well. So we've got plenty to work with, but if anyone has anything that comes up that they would like to hear us read or like me to suffer through together, then go ahead and get your suggestions in, whether they be on Bluesky, comments on videos, or chats here on the streams. We'll get them lined up and come up with something to read. There's no shortage of wonderful options, so we'll keep busy. So, let's go ahead and jump into it, shall we? We've got one chapter left to see the last winding down and the end of Odysseus' tale, and we'll see how things shake out. So, we return tonight with Book 24 of the Odyssey. The Ithacans bury the wooers, and sitting in council resolve on revenge. And coming near the house of Laertes are met by Odysseus, and Laertes with Telemachus and his servants, the whole number 12, and are overcome and submit. Now Selenian Hermes called forth from the halls the souls of the wooers, and he held in his hand his wand that is fair and golden, wherewith he lulls the eyes of men, of whomso he will, while others again he even wakens out of sleep. Herewith he roused and led the souls who followed gibbering, and even as bats flit gibbering in the secret place of a wondrous cave when one has fallen down from the cluster on the rock, when they cling each to each other up aloft, even so the souls gibbered as they fared together, and Hermes, the helper, led them down the dank ways. Past the streams of Oceanus and the white rock, past the gates of the sun they sped, and the land of dreams. And soon they came to the mead of Asphodel, where dwell the souls, the phantoms of men outworn. There they found the soul of Achilles, son of Peleus, and the souls of Patroclus, and of noble Antilochus, and of Aias, who in face and form was goodliest of all the Danaans after the noble son of Peleus. So these were flocking around Achilles, and the spirits of Agamemnon, son of Atreus, drew nigh, sorrowful, and about him were gathered all the other shades, as many as perished with him in the house of Aegisthus, and met their doom. Now the soul of the son of Peleus spake to him first, saying, Son of Atreus, verily, we deemed that thou above all other heroes wast evermore dear to Zeus, whose joy is in the thunder, seeing that thou wast lord over warriors, many and mighty men, even in the land of Trojans, where we Achaeans suffered affliction. But lo, thee too was deadly doom to visit early, the doom that none avoids of all men born. Ah, would that in the fullness of thy princely honor thou hadst met death and fate in the land of the Trojans. So would all the Achaean host have builded thee a barrow, yea, and for thy son thou wouldst have won great glory in the aftertime. But how it has been decreed for thee to perish by a most pitiful death. Then the soul of Atreus answered and spake, Happy art thou, son of Peleus, godlike Achilles, that didst die in Troy land far from Argos. And about thee fell others, the best of the sons of Trojans and Achaeans, fighting for thy body, but thou in the whirl of dust layest mighty and mightily fallen. Forgetful of thy chivalry, and we strove the livelong day, nor would we ever have ceased from the fight if Zeus had not stayed us with a tempest. Anon, when we had borne thee to the ships from out of the battle, we laid thee on a bier and washed thy fair flesh clean with warm water and unguents. And round thee the Danaan shed many a hot tear and shore their hair. And forth from the sea came thy mother with the deathless maidens of the waters. When they heard the tidings, and a wonderful wailing rose over the deep, and trembling fell on the limbs of all the Achaeans. Yea, and they would have sprung up and departed to the hollow ships, had not one of them held back that knew much lore from of old, Nestor, whose counsel proved heretofore the best. Out of his good will he made harangue, and spake among them, Hold ye Argives, flee not, young lords of the Achaeans. Lo, his mother from the sea is she that comes, with the deathless maidens of the waters, to behold the face of her dead son. So he spake, and the high-hearted Achaeans ceased from their flight. Then round thee stood the daughters of the Ancient One of the Sea, holding a pitiful lament. And they clad thee about in raiment incorruptible, and all the 9 muses, one to the other, replying with sweet voices, began the dirge. There thou wouldst not have seen an Argive but wept, so mightily rose up the clear chant. Thus for 17 days and nights continually did we all bewail thee, immortal gods and mortal men. On the 18th day we gave thy body to the flames, and many well-fatted sheep we slew around thee, and kine of shambling gait. So thou wert burned in the garments of the gods, and in much unguents and in sweet honey, and many heroes of the Achaeans moved mail-clad around the pyre when thou wast burning, both footman and horse, and great was the noise that arose. When the flame of Hephaestus had utterly abolished thee, lo, in the morning we gathered together thy white bones, Achilles, and bestowed them in unmixed wine and in unguents. Thy mother gave a twy-handled golden urn, and said that it was the gift of Dionysus, and the workmanship of renowned Hephaestus. Therein lie thy white bones, great Achilles, and mingled therewith the bones of Patroclus, son of Menoetius, that is dead. But apart is the dust of Antilochus, whom thou didst honor above all thy other companions, after Patroclus was dead. Then over them did we pile a great and goodly tomb, we, the holy host of Argive warriors, high on a jutting headland over white Hellespont, that it might be far seen from off the sea by men that now are, and by those who shall be hereafter. Then thy mother asked the gods for glorious prizes in the games, and set them in the midst of the lists for the champions of the Achaeans. In days past thou had been at the funeral games of many a hero, when so, after some king's death, the young men gird themselves and make them ready for the meed of victory. But couldst thou have seen these gifts, thou wouldst most have marveled in spirit. Such glorious prizes did the goddess set there to honor thee. Even Thetis, the silver-footed, for very dear wert thou to the gods. Thus, not even in death hast thou lost thy name, but to thee shall be a fair renown forever among all men, Achilles. But what joy have I now herein, that I have wound up the clue of war, for on my return Zeus devised for me an evil end at the hands of Aegisthus, and my wife accursed. So are we at the epilogue of the Iliad, or are we at the end of the Odyssey here? Come on. Skipping over a little bit. So they spake one to the other, and nigh them came the messenger, the slayer of Argos, leading down the ghosts of the wooers by Odysseus slain. And the 2 heroes were amazed at the sight, and went straight toward them. And the soul of Agamemnon, son of Atreus, knew the dear son of Menelaus, renowned Amphimedon, who had been his host, having his dwelling in Ithaca. The soul of the son of Atreus spake to him first, saying, Amphimedon, what has befallen you, that ye have come beneath the darkness of earth, all of you picked men and of like age? It is even as though one should choose out and gather together the best warriors in a city. Did Poseidon smite you in your ships and rouse up a contrary wind and the long waves? Or did unfriendly men, perchance, do you hurt upon the land as ye were cutting off their oxen and fair flocks of sheep? Or while they fought to defend their city and the women thereof? Answer, and tell me, for I avow me a friend of thy house. Rememberest thou not the day when I came to your house in Ithaca with godlike Menelaus to urge Odysseus to follow with me to Ilios on the decked ships? And it was a full month ere we had sailed all across the wide sea, for scarce could we win to our cause Odysseus, waster of cities. Then the ghost of Amphimedon answered him and spake, Most famous son of Atreus, king of men, Agamemnon, I remember all these things, O fosterling of Zeus, as thou declarest them. And I, in turn, will tell thee all the tale well and truly, even our death and evil end, on what wise it befell. We wooed the wife of Odysseus that was long afar, and she neither refused the hated bridal, nor was minded to make an end, devising for us death and black fate. Also, this other while she contrived in her heart. She set up in her halls a mighty web, fine of woof and very wide, whereat she would weave, and anon she spake among us, Ye princeless youths, my wooers, now that goodly Odysseus is dead, do ye abide patiently, how eager soever to speed on this marriage of mine till I finish the robe. I would not that the threads perish to no avail, even this shroud for the hero Laertes, against the day when the ruinous doom shall bring him low, of death that lays men at their length. So shall none of the Achaean women in the land count it blame in me, as well might be, were he to lie without a winding sheet, a man that had gotten great possessions. So spake she, and our high hearts consented thereto. So then in the daytime she would weave the mighty web, and in the night unravel the same, when she had let place the torches by her. Thus, for the space of 3 years, she hid the thing by guile, and won the minds of the Achaeans. But when the 4th year arrived, and the seasons came round, as the months waned and many days were accomplished, then it was that one of her women who knew all declared it, and we found her unraveling the splendid web. Thus she finished it perforce, and sore against her will. Now when she brought the robe to light, after she had woven the great web and washed it, and it shone even as sun or moon, at that very hour some evil god led Odysseus, I know not whence, to the upland farm, where the swineherd abode in his dwelling. Thither too came the dear son of divine Odysseus, out of sandy Pylos, voyaging with his black ship. These twain framed an evil death for the wooers, and came to the renowned town. Odysseus verily came the later, and Telemachus went before and led the way. Now the swineherd brought Odysseus clad in vile raiment, in the likeness of a beggar, a wretched man and an old, leaning on a staff, and behold, he was clad about in sorry raiment. And none of us, not even the elders, could know him for what he was, on this his sudden appearing. But with evil words we assailed him and hurled things at him. Yet for a while he hardened his heart to endure both the hurlings and the evil words in his own halls. But at the last, when the spirit of Zeus, Lord of the Aegis, aroused him, by the help of Telemachus, he took up all the goodly weapons, and laid them by in the inner chamber, and drew the bolts. Next, in his great craft, he bade his wife to offer his bow and store of grey iron to the wooers, to be weapons of our contest. Luckless that we were, and the beginning of death. Now, not one of us could stretch the string of the strong bow. Far short we fell of that might. But when the great bow came to the hands of Odysseus, then we all clamored and forbade to give him the bow, how much soever he might speak. But Telemachus alone was instant with him, and commanded him to take it. Then he took the bow into his hands, the steadfast, goodly Odysseus, and lightly he strung it, and sent the arrow through the iron. Then straight he went to the threshold, and there took his stand, and poured forth the swift arrows, glancing terribly around, and smote the king Antinous. Thereafter, on the others he let fly his bolts, winged for death with straight aim, and the wooers fell thick one upon another. Then was it known how that some god was their helper, for pressing on as their passion drave them, they slew the men right and left through the halls. And thence there arose a hideous moaning, as heads were smitten and the floor all ran with blood. So we perished, Agamemnon, and even now our bodies lie uncared for in the halls of Odysseus, for the friends of each one at home as yet know not, even they who might wash the black-clotted blood out of our wounds, and lay out the bodies and wail the dirge, for that is the due of the dead. Then the ghost of the son of Atreus answered him, "O happy son of Laertes, Odysseus of many devices, yea, for a wife most excellent that hast thou gotten. So good was the wisdom of constant Penelope, daughter of Icarius, that was duly mindful of Odysseus, her wedded lord. Wherefore the fame of her virtue shall never perish, but the immortals will make a gracious song in the ears of men on earth to the fame of constant Penelope. In far otherwise did the daughter of Tyndareus devise ill deeds, and slay her wedded lord, and hateful shall the song of her be among men, and an evil repute hath she brought upon all womankind, even on the upright." Even so, these twain spake one to the other, standing in the house of Hades, beneath the secret places of the earth. Now, when those others had gone down from the city, quickly they came to the rich and well-ordered farmland of Laertes, that he had won for himself of old, as the prize of great toil in war. There was his house, and all about it ran the huts wherein the thralls were wont to eat and dwell and sleep, bondsmen that worked his will. And in the house there was an old Sicilian woman, who diligently cared for the old man, in the upland far from the city. There Odysseus spake to his thralls and to his son, saying, "Do ye now get you within the well-builded house, and quickly sacrifice the best of the swine for the midday meal. But I will make trial of my father, whether he will know me again and be aware of me when he sees me, or know me not, so long have I been away." Therewith he gave the thralls his weapons of war. Then, when they went speedily to the house, while Odysseus drew near to the fruitful vineyard to make trial of his father. Now he found not Dolius there, as he went down into the great garden, nor any of the thralls, nor of their sons. It chanced that they had all gone to gather stones for a garden fence, and the old man at their head. So he found his father alone in the terraced vineyard, digging about a plant. He was clothed in a filthy doublet, patched and unseemly, with clouded leggings of oxhide bound about his legs, against the scratches of the thorns, and long sleeves over his hands, by reason of the brambles. And on his head he wore a goatskin cap, and so he nursed his sorrow. Now, when the steadfast, goodly Odysseus saw his father thus wasted with age and in great grief of heart, he stood still beneath a tall pear tree, and let fall a tear. Then he communed with his heart and soul whether he should fall on his father's neck and kiss him, and tell him all, how he had returned and come to his own country, or whether he should first question him and prove him in every word. And as he thought within himself, this seemed to him the better way, namely, first to prove his father and speak to him sharply. So with this intent, the goodly Odysseus went up to him. Now he was holding his head down and kept digging about the plant, while his renowned son stood by him and spake, saying, "Old man, thou hast no lack of skill in tending a garden. Lo, thou carest well for all. Nor is there aught whatsoever, either plant or fig tree or vine, yea, or olive or pear or garden bed in all the close, that is not well seen to. Yet another thing will I tell thee, and lay not up wrath thereat in thy heart. Thyself art scarce so well cared for, but a pitiful old age is on thee, and withal thou art withered and unkempt, and clad unseemly. It cannot be to punish thy sloth that thy master cares not for thee. There shows nothing of the slave about thy face and stature, for thou art like a kingly man, even like one who should lie soft, when he has washed and eaten well, as is the manner of the aged. But come, declare me this, and plainly tell it all. Whose thrall art thou? And whose garden dost thou tend? Tell me, moreover, truly, that I may surely know, if it be indeed to Ithaca that I am now come, as one yonder told me who met with me but now on the way hither. He was but of little understanding, for he deigned not tell me all nor to heed my saying, when I questioned him regarding my friend, whether indeed he is yet alive, or is even now dead and within the house of Hades. For I will declare it, and do thou mark and listen. Once did I kindly entreat a man in mine own dear country, who came to our home, and never yet has any mortal been dearer of all the strangers that have drawn to my house from afar. He declared him to be by lineage from out of Ithaca, and said that his own father was Laertes, son of Arceisius. So I led him to our halls, and gave him good entertainment, with all loving kindness, out of the plenty that was within. Such gifts, too, I gave him, as are the due of guests. Of well-wrought gold I gave him 7 talents, and a mixing bowl of flowered work, all of silver, and 12 cloaks of single fold, and as many coverlets, and as many goodly mantles and doublets to boot. And besides all these, 4 women skilled in all fair works and most comely, the women of his choice. Then his father answered him, weeping, Stranger, thou art verily come to that country whereof thou askest, but outrageous men and froward hold it, and these thy gifts, thy countless gifts, thou didst bestow in vain. For if thou hadst found that man yet living in the land of Ithaca, he would have sent thee on thy way, with good return of thy presents, and with all hospitality, as is due to the man that begins the kindness. But come, declare me this, and plainly tell me all. How many years are past since thou didst entertain him, thy guest, ill-fated, and my child? If ever such an one there was, hapless man, whom far from his friends and his country's soil, the fishes, it may be, have devoured in the deep sea, or on the shore he has fallen the prey of birds and beasts. His mother wept not over him, nor clad him for burial, nor his father, we that begat him, nor did his bride, whom men sought with rich gifts, the constant Penelope, bewail her lord upon the bier, as was meet, nor closed his eyes as the dew of the departed. Moreover, tell me this truly, that I may surely know. Who art thou, and whence of the sons of men? Where is thy city, and where are they that begat thee? Where now is thy swift ship moored, that brought thee thither with thy guide-like company? Hast thou come as a passenger on another ship, while they set thee ashore and went away? Then Odysseus of many counsels answered him, saying, Yea now, I will tell thee all most plainly. From out of Alabas I come, where I dwell in a house renowned, and am the son of Aphaetus, the son of Polyphemus, the prince, and my own name is Eperitus. But some god drave me wandering hither from Sicaudia against my will, and yonder my ship is moored toward the upland away from the city. But for Odysseus, this is now the 5th year since he went thence and departed out of my country. Ill-fated was he, and yet he had birds of good omen when he fared away, birds on the right. Wherefore I sped him gladly on his road, and gladly he departed. And the heart of us twain hoped yet to meet in friendship on a day, and to give splendid gifts. So he spake, and on the old man fell a black cloud of sorrow. With both his hands he clutched the dust and ashes, and showered them on his grey head with ceaseless groaning. Then the heart of Odysseus was moved, and up through his nostrils throbbed anon the keen sting of sorrow at the sight of his dear father. And he sprang towards him and fell on his neck and kissed him, saying, Behold, I am here, even I, my father, am the man of whom thou askest. In the 20th year am I come to mine own country. But stay thy weeping and tearful lamentation, for I will tell thee all clearly. Though great need there is of haste, I have slain the wooers in our halls, and avenged their bitter scorn and evil deeds. Then Laertes answered him and spake, saying, If thou art indeed Odysseus, mine own child, that art come hither, show me now a manifest token, that I may be assured. Then Odysseus of many counsels answered him, saying, Look first on this scar, and consider it, that the boar dealt me with his white tusk on Parnassus, whither I had gone, and thou didst send me forth, thou and my lady mother, to Autolycus, my mother's father, to get the gifts which when he came hither he promised and covenanted to give me. But come, and I will even tell thee the trees through all the terraced garden which thou gavest me, once for mine own, and I was begging of thee this and that, being but a little child, and following thee through the garden. Through these very trees we were going, and thou didst tell me the names of each of them. Pear trees, 13 thou gavest me, and 10 apple trees, and figs 20. And as we went, thou didst name the 50 rows of vines thou wouldst give me, whereof each one ripened at diverse times, with all manner of clusters on their boughs, when the seasons of Zeus wrought mightily on them from on high. So he spake, and straightway his knees were loosened, and his heart melted within him, as he knew the sure tokens that Odysseus showed him. About his dear son he cast his arms, and the steadfast goodly Odysseus caught him fainting to his breast. Now when he had got breath, and his spirit came to him again, once more he answered, and spake, saying, Father Zeus, verily, ye gods yet bear a sway on high Olympus, if indeed the wooers have paid for their infatuate pride. But now my heart is terribly afraid, lest straightway all the men of Ithaca come up against us here, and haste to send messengers everywhere to the cities of the Cephallenians. Then Odysseus of many counsels answered him, saying, Take courage, and let not thy heart be careful about these matters. But come, let us go to the house that lies near the garden, for thither I sent forward Telemachus, and the neatherd and the swineherd, to get ready the meal as speedily as may be. After these words the twain set out to the goodly halls. Now when they had come to the fair-lying house, they found Telemachus and the neatherd and the swineherd carving much flesh, and mixing the dark wine. Meanwhile the Sicilian handmaid bathed high-hearted Laertes in his house, and anointed him with olive oil, and cast a fair mantle about him. Then Athene drew nigh, and made greater the limbs of the shepherd of the people. Taller she made him than before, and mightier to behold. Then he went forth from the bath, and his dear son marveled at him, beholding him like to the deathless gods in presence. And uttering his voice, he spake to him winged words, Father, surely one of the gods that are from everlasting hath made thee goodlier and greater to behold. Then wise Laertes answered him, saying, would to Father Zeus and Athene and Apollo that such as I was when I took Nericus, the established castle on the foreland of the continent, being then the prince of the Cephallenians, that would that in such might and with mail about my shoulders I had stood to aid thee yesterday in our house, and to beat back the wooers. So should I have loosened the knees of many and one of them in the halls, and thou shouldest have been gladdened in thine inmost heart. So they spake each with the other, but when the others had ceased from their task and made ready the feast, they sat down all orderly on chairs and on high seats. Then they began to put forth their hands on the meat, and the old man Dolius drew nigh, and the old man's sons withal came tired from their labor in the fields, for their mother, the aged Sicilian woman, had gone forth and called them, she that saw to their living and diligently cared for the old man, now that old age had laid hold on him. So soon as they looked on Odysseus and took knowledge of him, they stood still in the halls in great amazement. But Odysseus addressed them in gentle words, saying, Old man, sit down to meat, and do ye forget your marveling. For long have we been eager to put forth our hands on the food, as we abode in the hall away, expecting your coming. So he spake, and Dolius ran straight toward him, and stretching forth both his hands, he grasped the hand of Odysseus and kissed it on the wrist, and uttering his voice spake to him winged words, Beloved, for as much as thou hast come back to us, who sore desired thee, and no longer thought to see thee, and the gods have led thee home again, hail to thee, and welcome manifold, and may the gods give thee all good fortune. Moreover, tell me this truly, that I may be assured whether wise Penelope yet knows well that thou hast come back hither, or whether we shall dispatch a messenger. Then Odysseus of many counsels answered, saying, Old man, already she knows all. What need to busy thyself herewith? Thereon the other sat him down again on his polished settle, and in likewise the sons of Dolius gathered about the renowned Odysseus, and greeted him well and clasped his hands, and then sat down all orderly by Dolius their father. So they were busy with the meal in the halls. Now Rumor the messenger went swiftly all about the city, telling the tale of the dire death and the fate of the wooers. And the people heard it, and all at once gathered together from every side, with sighing and groaning before the house of Odysseus. And each brought forth his dead from the halls, and buried them. But those that came out of other cities they placed on swift ships, and sent with fisherfolk, each to be carried to his own home. As for them, they all fared together to the assembly place, in sorrow of heart, when they were all gathered and come together. Eupeithes arose and spake among them, for a comfortless grief lay heavy on his heart for his son Antinous, the first man that goodly Odysseus had slain. Weeping for him, he made harangue and spake among them, Friends, a great deed truly hath this man devised against the Achaeans. Some with his ships he led away, many men and noble, and his hollow ships hath he lost, and utterly lost of his company, and others again, and those far the best of the Cephallenians he hath slain on his coming home. Up now, before ever he gets him swiftly either to Pylos or to fair Elis, where the Epeans bear sway, let us go forth, else even hereafter shall we have shame of face for ever. For a scorn this is, even for the ears of men unborn to hear, if we avenge not ourselves on the slayers of our sons and of our brethren. Life would no more be sweet to me, but rather would I die straightway and be with the departed. Up, let us be going, lest these fellows be beforehand with us and get them over the sea. Thus he spake, weeping, and pity fell on all the Achaeans. Then came near them to Medon, and the divine minstrel, forth from the halls of Odysseus, for that sleep had let them go. They stood in the midst of gathering, and amazement seized every man. Then Medon, wise of heart, spake among them, saying, Hearken to me now, ye men of Ithaca, for surely Odysseus planned not these deeds without the will of the gods. Nay, I myself behold a great immortal, who stood hard by Odysseus, in the perfect semblance of Mentor. Now, as a deathless god was he manifest in front of Odysseus, cheering him. And yet again, scaring the wooers, he stormed through the hall, and they fell thick one on another. Thus he spake, and pale fear gat hold of the limbs of all. Then the old man, Halitherses, spake among them, the son of Mastor, for he alone saw before and after. Out of his good will he made harangue and spoke among them, saying, Hearken to me now, ye men of Ithaca, to the word that I will say. Through your own cowardice, my friends, have these deeds come to pass. For ye obeyed not me, nor Mentor, the shepherd of the people, to make your sons cease from their foolish ways. A great villainy they wrought in their evil infatuation, wasting the wealth and holdings in no regard the wife of a prince, while they deemed that he would never more come home. And now let things be on this wise, and obey my counsel. Let us not go forth against him, lest haply some may find a bane of their own bringing. So he spake, but they leapt up with a great cry, the more part of them, while the rest abode there together. For his counsel was not to the mind of the more part, but they gave ear to Eupeithes, and swiftly thereafter they rushed for their armor, so that they had arrayed them in shining mail. They assembled together in front of the spacious town, and Eupeithes led them in his witlessness, for he thought to avenge the slaying of his son, yet himself was never to return, but then and there to meet his doom. Now Athene spoke to Zeus, the son of Cronos, saying, O father, our father Cronades, throned in the highest, answer, and tell me what is now the hidden counsel of thy heart. Wilt thou yet further rouse up evil war in the terrible din of battle, or art thou minded to set them at one again in friendship? Then Zeus, gatherer of the clouds, answered her, saying, My child, why dost thou thus straitly question me, and ask me this? Nay, didst thou thyself devise this very thought, namely, that Odysseus should indeed take vengeance on these men at his coming? Do as thou wilt, but I will tell thee of the better way. Now that goodly Odysseus hath wreaked vengeance on the wooers, let them make a firm covenant together with sacrifice, and let him be king all his days. And let us bring about oblivion of the slaying of their children and their brethren. So may both sides love one another as of old, and let peace and wealth abundant be their portion. Therewith he roused Athene to yet greater eagerness, and from the peaks of Olympus she came glancing down. Now, when they had put from them the desire of honey-sweet food, the steadfast goodly Odysseus began to speak among them, saying, Let one go forth and see, lest the people be already drawing near against us. So he spake, and the son of Dolius went forth at his bidding, and stood on the outer threshold, and saw them all close at hand. Then straightway he spake to Odysseus winged words, Here they be, close upon us! Quick, let us to arms! Thereupon they rose up, and arrayed them in their harness. Odysseus and his men being 4, and the 6 sons of Dolius, and likewise Laertes and Dolius did on their armor, grey-headed as they were, warriors through stress of need. Now, when they had clad them in shining mail, they opened the gates and went forth, and Odysseus led them. Then Athene, daughter of Zeus, drew near them, in the likeness of Mentor, in fashion and in voice. And the steadfast goodly Odysseus beheld her and was glad, and straightway he spake to Telemachus his dear son, Telemachus, soon shalt thou learn this, when thou thyself art got to the place of the battle where the best men try the issue, namely, not to bring shame on thy father's house, on us who in time past have been eminent for might and hardihood all over the world. Then wise Telemachus answered him, saying, Thou shalt see me, if thou wilt, dear father, in this my mood no whit disgracing thy line, according to thy word. So spake he, and Laertes was glad, and spoke, saying, What a day has dawned for me, kind gods! Yea, a glad man am I. My son and my son's son are vying with one another in valor. Then grey-eyed Athene stood beside Laertes and spake to him, O son of Arceisius, that art far the dearest of all my friends, pray first go to the grey-eyed maid and to Father Zeus. Then swing thy long spear aloft and hurl it straightway. Therewith Pallas Athene breathed into him great strength. Then he prayed to the daughter of mighty Zeus, and straightway swung his long spear aloft and hurled it, and smote Eupeithes through his casque with the cheek piece of bronze. The armor kept not out the spear that went clean through, and he fell with a crash, and his arms rattled about his body. Then Odysseus and his renowned son fell on the forefighters, and smote them with swords and 2-headed spears. And now would they have slain them all, and cut off their return, had not Athene called aloud, the daughter of Zeus, lord of the Aegis, and stayed all the host of the enemy, saying, Hold your hands from fierce fighting, ye men of Ithaca, that so ye may be parted quickly, without bloodshed. So spake Athene, and the pale fear got hold of them all. The arms flew from their hands in their terror, and fell all upon the ground, as the goddess uttered her voice. To the city they turned their steps, as men fain of life. And the steadfast goodly Odysseus, with a terrible cry, gathered himself together, and hurled in on them like an eagle of lofty flight. Then in that hour the son of Cronos cast forth a flaming bolt, and it fell at the feet of the grey-eyed goddess, at the daughter of the mighty sire. Then grey-eyed Athene spake to Odysseus, saying, Son of Laertes, of the seed of Zeus, Odysseus of many devices, refrain thee now, and stay the strife of even-handed war, lest perchance the son of Cronos be angry with thee, even Zeus of the far-born voice. So spake Athene, and he obeyed, and was glad of heart. And thereafter Pallas Athene set a covenant between them with sacrifice. She, the daughter of Zeus, lord of the ages, in the likeness of Mentor, both in fashion and in voice. That is the end of the chapter, but there's a little bit of a bit of prose here at the very end. Homer, thy song men liken to the sea, with every note of music in his tone, with tides that wash the dim dominion of Hades, and light waves that laugh in glee around the isles enchanted. Nay, to me thy verse seems as the river of source unknown, that glasses Egypt's temples overthrown, in his sky-nurtured stream eternally. No wiser we than men of heretofore, to find thy mystic fountains guarded fast. Enough, thy flood makes green our human shore, as Nilus, Egypt, rolling down his vast, his fertile waters murmuring evermore, of gods dethroned and empires of the past. I guess that was an afterward note from the translator. It works. They kind of tried their hand at writing their own Homer-style prose. So that was kind of a sudden end. It all sort of worked out, but you don't see the sort of clean conclusion that you see in modern works and modern prose, obviously. It's just like, oh, and we're done. So it was interesting there. It's a nice twist of the expectations, honestly, where we today are sort of expecting things to have like a long wind down period, but this had more of a long wind up period, and then the last chapter was just like, oh, okay, meet your dad. He remembers you. He's happy that his son and grandson are both big, strong men. Kill a couple of the people that were the families, and then boop, we're done. Yeah, it is easy to forget that this is an epic poem. It's not prose and like it's not a novel in the traditional sense. It's an epic poem. So when it's done, it's done. Especially the way it ends on the gods setting an accord and saying, okay, it's sort of just things end in prayer, or very similar to prayer a lot, whether it be in plays or poetry or otherwise. So, but it was pretty good. We got through it, through the Odyssey, and actually in only 8 sessions to finish it out. Not too bad. Not too bad. This last one was definitely a shorter one. I almost wish we had another half chapter or so to get through, but it is what it is. We won't always end up on a nice, even 2-hour stream on the last day. I'd like to come back to the Odyssey every once in a while. I know we read it in school. Most of us have read it in school, whether it be early high school or later on. But reading it again outside of school, we had the same sort of experience when we read The Great Gatsby. It's a different experience to read something for pleasure rather than reading it as an assignment. You can just take so many different lessons and ideas from the readings that you do for the sake of reading. So it was nice to see the different viewpoints and see, like, Odysseus in this time was sometimes just a right asshole, but and other times he was a good guest and a good host, which from the Greek perspective, that is like the epitome of everything. Be a good guest, be a good host, be ever valorous, that sort of thing. Early cases of chivalry where honor and reputation are everything and more. Looking at it from a different lens, you can see the double standard is all over the place. It's like Odysseus straight up just sleeps with 2 goddesses while he's out and about, and Penelope is expected to be stuck in her bedroom crying the entire 20 years. Like, come on. But she was strong in and of herself too when she came out, and I mean, she was tricking the suitors and leading them on and doing everything in her power to drag things out and give all the time necessary for him to come home, or not, as the case might have been. So she's every bit as strong a character as he is, but the standard she's held to is very different from his. It was kind of nice seeing the way Telemachus grew throughout as well. Because we saw him at the very beginning, and he was a strong young man, but was kind of overturned by the councils and the elders of the town in Ithaca. Because we saw right away that he was trying to petition to get the suitors kicked out, and everyone's just like, you're just a kid, get out of here. But his own little journey kind of turned him into a man all at once. Yeah, I'm not sure if it was that we didn't pay much attention to the Telemachus sections in high school, or if everyone was just like waiting to get to the Odysseus parts, because it's like, all right, there's monsters and there's adventures and things, but the Telemachus is interesting in and of himself, because at the very start he's ridden over and shut down as just a boy, but then Athena is like, hey, why don't you get out of here for a minute, go look for your dad, and then he doesn't actually find him, but while he's away he has his own little personal growth, seeing that guest right at work, and being surrounded by his father's old friends, and then he comes back full of more confidence and able to stand up for himself and taking part in the butchery of the suitors there. So it's a nice character arc for him. Honestly, he's probably the only one with an actual character arc in the book, or in the poem. So the rest are established things. Like Odysseus from the beginning was prideful and pious and honorable from back in the Iliad, and that just carries on into forever. So all of the other characters are exactly as they started and ended, but pretty much just Telemachus has any sort of arc. And yeah, you're right, it's a coming of age story, not in the way you'd expect it, and that wasn't probably the main focus, but it's nice to see the extra layers. I do kind of wish I don't think we talked about that in high school. Maybe it just wasn't important at the time, or maybe the perspective that we had as kids just didn't really click. Or maybe I'm just forgetting it because, let's be honest, I slept through a lot of high school. So that was nice. I did get very tired of the who's who lists of the greatest heroes of Greek myth and legend and prose. Every time we talked about that, we came to the underworld, it's like, oh yeah, here's all these famous people or straight out of myth and legend. You know what, that could be. A lot of the edits were a bit more aggressive. This one seems to be pretty faithful to the source. It doesn't seem like there were a whole lot of like cuts or abridgments, but a lot of the school ones, there are like, I remember we'd have like the prose style and then like a summary of what happened on what you're supposed to take away from it, almost side by side or page by page. And it seems like there were a lot of things that were out. Hi, Z. It's probably just been a long day. It's not. There's a lot going on these days, and tranquilizers, sometimes that's just the order of the day, right? All right, so that's that's fair. Hi. All right, so we are now done with the Odyssey. Huzzah, huzzah. And let's start thinking of what we want to get into next. So we've had American fiction, we've had American prose and semi-poetry with Walden, we had Great Gatsby, so we've had Gilded Age. We started off everything with The Sun Also Rises with Hemingway. We've had Greek plays from Sophocles, which were referenced in this, which was actually kind of cool to see. We had Lovecraft. So we've been all over the place. So it might be nice to go to something lighthearted next up. We've got a few options there. Things like Count of Monte Cristo or The Three Musketeers or the sort. Make a quick return to Lovecraft for a little bit of weird and wild. There's some of the higher beats. There's like Mountains of Madness and Color Out of Space and things like that. Some of the more famous short stories. Actually, Mountains of Madness is one of his longest ones. So we've got a lot of options, and we don't want to sort of stick ourselves into a rut of being overly academic in here. Let's get some books in that are just fun. There's nothing wrong with exercising the noggin as you're going around, but it's also nice to just kick back with the book and relax, you know? So we'll come up with something by the next time. Our next reading is going to be on Friday. I'll have a selection by then. Maybe just a stopover piece to go to tide us over until we start our next big project book. But then again, the weekends are a great place to start a new book. Getting 3 sessions in a row is definitely helpful. I kind of like our schedule the way it is, but you're right. It does feel like Dumas is inevitable. And Dumas is kind of in that sweet spot of both like literary, but also meant to be approachable. It's not like super dense. It's not like we're going to be reading Walden again. So that's definitely on the table. I'll need to take a look at it and see how dense the French is. I expect it to be very dense because it was originally French. So all the names and places and proper nouns will all be French. I think I'm better at it these days, though. Between just getting the extra practice of saying the names and places out of different languages and themes and sources, I think I could probably hack it. And yeah, you're right. They're adventure books. They're meant to be fun reads. So we could probably do that. I'll take a look and see if I can find a good copy. But that totally would be. We'll see if we want to jump right into it or if we want to put it off for a little bit. But see if people will put up with going straight from Greek to French to. We'll find something else that I'll butcher, I'm sure. Or if we need to smatter in some American or British where I can be confident in my pronunciations. I guess the other option is to just be confidently wrong. That can be entertaining in and of itself. What can't it? Alright guys, so we stretched this out to about an hour, but we are finished now with the Odyssey. We've had a little bit of a good chat afterwards, so I think we will go ahead and call it a wrap for this evening. We will resume with our next reading on this coming Friday. Got a couple days off, wherein I'll decide and come up with whatever our next oh God, Joseph. between Joseph and so Joseph was hard, because that was so butchered in there were more apostrophes and missing letters than there were letters that should have been. On the page, it looked like someone was trying to transliterate Boomhauer into Victorian era English. It was something else, that's for sure. I gave up. I just let the sounds come out, and that's about as coherent as it was going to get. Let's see, the very rural accent that came out of one of the Lovecraft stories was another bad one. I'm sure it was fun because of that. Especially when sometimes Joseph would have like half a page of spoken lines, and just like, why? You can definitely tell it was written to be read quietly and alone, not to be read aloud. But it was something else, that is for sure. And I'm sure we'll probably find characters that will have similar quirks that will destroy any sort of pacing that I've managed to build up. So, alright, let's go ahead and call it a wrap for tonight. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, everyone. And thank you for following along and originally suggesting that we read the Odyssey. It has been a wonderful journey to go through this together. Classic of classics, this one. And so we'll shift things up next time, and we will be back on Friday with our next read. That is yet to be determined. So, thank you very much, and I hope everyone has a wonderful night. You can have a little bit of your night back tonight with our short evening. If you haven't, I will go ahead and do the YouTube thing. Go ahead and drop a like on the stream. Trying to grow the channel and get a little bit more attention, just so we can get some more people around to enjoy the works together. Akimos and I enjoy chatting amongst ourselves, but it is always fun to get a few more people around to join in the fun. Alright, have a great night, everyone, and I hope to see you next time. Bye now.